Start by structuring the meeting. What is the goal of the meeting? So on this one, for all the product people watching, if you have less than 20 hours of meeting per week, that's sustainable.
Most of the product managers think that they are the thinksters in the teams.
If you are thinking like you are the bridge, you're not alone. I thought that in the beginning of my career as well.
Hello PMs, aspiring PMs and product builders. Today we have a product leader with us who is known for his no BS and direct approach to product management. If you have read his blog and his new book as well. So we have David Pereira. He has been a teacher, a product manager, a CPO, and now the CEO of a thriving tech company in Germany called omoqo. And David has also written some very insightful and actionable content on product management. The recent one being his book named Untrapping Product Teams, which I have become like a recent absolute fan of because he has structured the information in such a way that you don't have to look at it at all the places. The book is also now in the bestsellers list in the software category within a month of its release. I've gone through the book and I thought I should have a public conversation with David to make sure that his immense practical knowledge is available for everyone. So if you're someone who thinks that they deserve more in their product jobs, this conversation will definitely help you get the right mindset and maybe help you unlock your potential. So let's get it rolling. Thanks a lot, David, for being with us, and congratulations on your book.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
David, we'll structure this conversation in the similar way you have structured your book, which is first we'll try to identify what are the symptoms of a dysfunctional, or in your terms, a trapped product team. And then maybe we'll talk about what are the root causes of why teams do the same, because no one wants to do the same. And the third is we'll make sure that how we can avoid these traps. Sounds good?
Yeah, sounds cool.
Cool. I think we can start with the first question. So what are the symptoms of like trap teams, and what do you mean by a trap team actually?
Sure. Let's start by the definition of a trap. Trap is like something you don't want it to be in because it will slow you down, it will hurt you. And when it comes to product teams, you may be aware that you are trapped. So you know that there's something you're doing and you don't like it. For example, software engineers saying, I don't have time to code. I'm always in meetings. That is a sign that something is wrong. But sometimes you are trapped and you are just unaware of that. So you may think it's even part of the job. Example, just gathering requirements from all business stakeholders and creating a bloated backlog. So these are the definitions of traps. But how do you know you are trapped? Generally, I say there is one symptom. You start talking more about the work instead of doing it. If you realize you're talking a lot about how should we do this, what should we do, prioritizing, and then you realize that you are not really getting the work done, this is a sign that something is off. Then it's a moment where you could step back and search for different ways of dealing with that.
Understood. So process over progress is like a symptom
Yeah.
of. And maybe we can also maybe talk about some common scenarios. Maybe you can talk about that. This is how you can identify that you are in a trap. Like let's say put a practical example to the same.
Sure. So a particular scenario I see is like what I wrote in the book in chapter 1 is the coordinative flow versus the collaborative flow. In a coordinative flow, it is all about getting all the tasks aligned with everyone. So the bat is very high. So for example, defining what you are going to work on, it will take long. But once you decide that, you go all in. So it means you're going to create high fidelity designs, and then you're going to work on that. And then stakeholders will go through rounds of review. Trick thing is it's unlikely users will be involved in this stage. It is a kind of internal review. It might be very painful, but eventually you get that out, and then you just throw over the fence, and then you hope the software engineers are going to code that, and boom, you put it live, and then you realize nothing is happening. You just pick the next idea, and then you go again and again and again. With this kind of flow, which I call the coordinative development flow, we spend our time with one question. How can we accelerate delivery? Business will complain that everything is too slow. It takes too long to get things out. Then we get busy with delivering faster. And I don't like this question because doing more of what is not creating value is not how we solve this problem. When we go to a collaborative flow, we spend the time with another question. How fast can we drop bad ideas? So meaning that We collaborate more to identify ideas that are unrelated to what we want to achieve, kind of filtering out distractions. And then once we see ideas that are promising, we don't become that hopeful. We say, let's confront them with reality and
Yes, yes.
understand if it works or not. So it's a more like a curious way of working. So you don't think you know everything, but you know what you don't know, and then you try getting the answers for that, and then you keep moving in this direction.
Understood. Understood. So collaboration over coordination and not
Yep,
letting the process be in the way of your progress. Understood.
correct.
Amazing. Amazing. And in the book, you have also mentioned like an exhaustive list of dangerous traps that most of the product teams are going to find themselves into. So, what are, let's say, three, four traps that you are able to find, and maybe how to go ahead and mitigate those?
Sure. A common one I'm seeing nowadays becoming more and more often is what I call the meeting marathon. Currently, I'm even giving a new name for that, which is the calendar driven framework. And why do I say that? Because it doesn't matter the framework you work with. Whatever is in your calendar is what you're going to do. So people are going to just book meetings in your calendar, they find a slot, they book, and then you start just following that. And this became more complex given the hybrid work format after the pandemic. Because when we used to go to the office, there was always a limit, a physical limit, number of meeting rooms and chairs. So if the meeting room was booked, no meeting would take place, or you would invite just one person for a coffee, something like that. But today, unlimited meeting rooms with mainly unlimited seats, so more meetings with more people. How do you overcome this trap? You overcome this trap by taking over your calendar. For example, start by structuring the meetings. What is the goal of the meeting? Can I achieve that without having a meeting? Maybe I just drop a message and then we can collaborate asynchronously. Who do I need to achieve this goal? And if you are the one being invited, you don't see the goal, so why would you show up? If you don't understand how you would drive value to that meeting, why would you show up? So start collaborating. So it's kind of, you need to prepare for meetings. Otherwise, you are going to waste a lot of time. This is a common one I see.
Yeah, cool. I think like all the people now I think all the product managers looking at this should look at their calendar. If it's all green, blue, yellow, and red, they should go ahead and maybe take these kind of actionable texts. Thanks a lot, David. What is the other one?
Yeah. So on this one, for all the product people watching, if you have less than 20 hours of meeting per week, that's sustainable. You are gonna have meetings. That's okay. If you have between 20 and 30, prioritize. If it is more than 30, stop everything now and you need to take over. So you need to take over the calendar. Now looking at another, how do you make decisions? So I like saying that a bad decision is better than no decision because a bad decision creates learning, while no decision creates nothing. A way I see of making decision in the product world is what I call the consensus driven decision framework, which means like someone comes with an idea, the person may have collected evidence and so on. Let's say the UX designer did the research, talked to several people, and then the moment this person presents something, everyone starts challenging what is presented. But the way they challenge is not, for example, asking the question, how did you come up with this design? Which issue were you trying to solve? What makes you confident this is the right way of solving? Which jobs do you try getting better for the users? The questions are never like that. The questions are like, why don't you use here a drop down, or why don't you use this, and so on. So start challenging on a technical level without understanding. But then there's an expectation, like if someone says something, I need to weigh in. So what is the result of that? The result is decisions take very long to be made. And once the decisions are made, they are not with the best option on the table. They are with something that everyone got tired of discussing and they commit to something that no one really agrees. They just say, okay, let's just go with it. And they end up with the worst possible option that was not even on the table. And here I'm not saying that people should not collaborate and challenge each other, but expertise and evidence should trump opinions.
Yes, yes, cool. So I think like you should, there is a place of democracy, but you should make sure that it is being led by right kind of decisiveness rather than like lingering on the decision for a longer period of time.
Yes, exactly. So
Yes.
let's start understanding where the others are coming from. And if we don't have anything that we would contribute in terms of adding value, challenging for the sake of it is not how we make the idea better.
Yes,
Yeah.
cool. And I think that happens because most of the product manager think that they are the thinksters in the team, so they can go ahead and maybe keep on lingering about the ideas as long as possible. Cool. I think that's good, David. And what could be like the third thing that you would recommend people to not do?
Uh, the third is the reason many product managers get demoted. Instead of becoming a product manager, you end up being a backlog manager. So, how does that happen? It happens because many people perceive the product manager as the bridge between
Hmm.
business and tech. And if you are thinking like you are the bridge, you are not alone. I thought that in the beginning of my career as well. My perception of product management evolved throughout time. But what happens when you perceive as the bridge? You go, you talk to business, and then you collect requirements. Everything they ask will become a backlog item. All the time goes there, a new backlog item, a new backlog item. And this keeps increasing. And the tricky thing is there's always more to do than you ever have capacity. And your
Hmm.
backlog will become a list of everything unrelated to a goal. And once you look at that, actually it's a list of promises, and the more items you add there, the more unbearable the promises become. So this is a very reckless way of managing the backlog, because then you are not a product manager. If you want to manage the backlog properly, what you should do is understanding where you want to go and use the backlog as a vehicle to drive you there. Because if you
Hmm.
don't have this, then you don't have anything to anchor and say, how does this help us achieve A? If it doesn't, don't go to the backlog. If it does help, yes, then you can consider. So the backlog should be a vehicle to drive value. If you have a backlog that is full of items, for example, more than 100, you should be worried. More than several hundreds, then you need to act immediately. So I like applying a practice I call as extreme backlog cleaning. And the reason I do that is because you can relate to your home.
Hmm.
At your home, for example, you do a few layers of cleaning. For example, every day you do a daily cleaning. So when you wake up, you make the bed, you go to the toilet, then you clean up, you have lunch or dinner, then you are going to clean the kitchen. And then maybe once a week or twice a week, you clean the floors, you remove the dust and ensure that everything is good there. And when you have special occasions, maybe a special person like your mom is visiting you, then you ensure that everything is perfectly tidied up. But if you imagine, like, let's say I'm not gonna do the daily cleaning anymore, and you stop removing the dust, it doesn't take long for you to run away from your house because it's so disgusting you don't want to enter there. The same
Yes.
happens with the product backlog. A daily cleanup for me would be just ensure that only things that contribute to value go there. But every week, what I like doing is on Friday, if something didn't make to a sprint in 3 months, it's good to go. I will just get rid of that because once it comes back with the right context. Because context changes, so you always need to evaluate the current context. So once a week, just remove all the clutter, things untouched, and then once a quarter, you look at the current goal. Go item by item and ask the question, how do they contribute to this goal? If they don't, just remove them. I do remove. I like saying that the trash bin is your friend. Make it bigger, not the backlog. If you are afraid of trashing the backlog item, just archive it.
Yes, interesting. So I think if I could just go ahead and compile all the three parts. First is you shouldn't be a meeting marathoner. You should make sure that you are a digital product manager. And the third thing is you should not be someone who's just doing the backlog management part. But I could like somewhere I could feel, David, that most of these things like somewhat are also coming from maybe a poor product strategy, because maybe people do not have a clarity that what they need to build, and maybe they are only focusing on coordination rather than because they don't know what to collaborate on.
That's a great point. Yeah, what we are addressing here is what is happening. So, what would be the root cause? A poor product strategy would lead to that. Of course, if you are lacking the skills to do product management, you would fall short even with a good strategy. But a good strategy, it is not really about the framework I shared in the book, different ways of doing that, but the most important is the mindset. A good strategy will do one thing: simplify decision making. So you know what to do and what not to do. What does it mean? You start by, where do we want to land? What is our vision? And then you say, which game are we playing? Are we playing the go-to-market game now? Or are we playing the growth game? Or maybe we are already in the maturity level and we need to bring something else to our clients because the next stage is going to be a decline. So it's understand the game you're playing, understand who you serve and what matters for them. Because if you're playing the go-to-market, it's a very different game than a growth game. So what customers expect from you is a different thing. So you need to know who you serve and who you don't serve. So you prioritize your actions. And also what makes you different than competition. Because many people ask the question like, how can I beat competition? How can I be better than competition? It might be valuable questions, but I prefer another one. How do I differentiate? You need to know how you differentiate so customers can relate to you. And within that, you can craft roadmaps. So first you clarify the aspects of your strategy, the game you're playing, then you can say, what is the next milestone we would like to reach to show that we are in the right direction? So a good strategy would help with that.
Cool, interesting. And also like we could see like there are a lot of teams who are like, let's say, trap product teams. So let's say if I'm like a new product manager looking to enter into a company and I'm interviewing over there, definitely I don't want to work for a like a very trap product team.
That's a very good point, and I like asking different questions. And I will be clear here. I believe that all companies would have opportunities to do something different, better. So you need to decide which fights you want to take. So there are some things that personally I don't accept. Then I say, okay, here for me is a red flag. I'm out. But there are some things I say, okay, this is possible to change because I love fostering change. That motivates me. It doesn't motivate everyone, so you need to decide for yourself. But the question I like asking is a very simple one. How does your roadmap look like? And it's about what it is. So if they say, I cannot share with you, this is confidential, I say, give me a direction. What is in there? For example, what am I trying to understand? The first thing, is it a feature there or an outcome? Because if it's a feature, the bet is very high. If the feature is right, then okay, everyone is happy. But if it's not, everyone is unhappy. And feature or output or roadmaps, this is going to be very tricky because it traps team in the delivery mode. But let's say it is a feature there. I will still remain optimistic. If something else happens, I would ask another question. How do you craft the roadmaps? And by how do you craft, I want to know how often, who is involved, and who calls the shots. Whenever I hear product managers are the ones defining the roadmap, product managers do that jointly with the leadership. Product managers have the decision power of what is in the roadmap. This is something I say, all right, even if it is a feature roadmap, there is something we could work on here because product managers would have decision power here. But if I hear that management decides on the roadmap and is a feature roadmap, that is a very hard game to change. So this one, if you're a product manager, is unlikely you can drive change. You can drive incremental change, but it will take a long time. Here you would need to be a product lead, a head of product, so you could influence more. So that is what I like exploring. How the roadmap is born, who is involved, who has decision power.
Yes. I think that, and there would be a lot of follow up questions on the same one. Interesting, David. But just like going like taking this question to the next step. Let's say you are like an individual contributor in a product team. Let's say a trap product team. Now you are the let's say you are adventurous enough, you are ambitious enough, you have taken this opportunity to make like be an agent of change. What are the things that you are going to recommend so that I don't lose my job and still I go ahead and improve the company?
You need to have a feeling of what it is possible to do. So if you're an individual contributor, the very first thing I recommend you is not to lecture people. Lecturing people is not going to work because then people will feel like, oh, who are you to tell me how I should do my work? That doesn't work.
Yes.
The question is, how do you help people see what you see? That's the question I would like to start with. Bring to a dialogue. For that, you need to do some homework. Let's say that all the time you are implementing features and you see that these features, they don't contribute to value or create too little value. Maybe people are not seeing that. How could you help them see that? Maybe you create a report of the features that were delivered over the last 12 months, and then you see how often they were used, how much value they created to the business. And then you show this report to people and say, hey, I learned this. I learned that the features created over the last 12 months, 50% of them are not used anymore. So, is it the right way of us to work to create features that people are not using? Should we explore different ways? So, bring to a dialogue, help them see that there is a problem happening, and then you can explore solution. Then you could suggest, for example, running an experiment. People are not going to be willing to change the roadmap from output to outcome 100% from one quarter to the other. Tell them, let's explore a roadmap where 20% of it is going to be outcome oriented. And then you have the chance of delivering. So that's the reason I said in the previous question, it is a journey, it's going to take some time. But if
Yes.
you are up to go for the journey, then you make incremental change. And then people will feel the small victories and then they will empower you to do more. Once you have the results, then they will talk more than any lecture you could ever give to anyone.
Yes, yes, correct. I could understand that. Yes, it's a cyclic journey that you will go ahead and make a small progress, or maybe in the form of a small experiment. Then it is going to prove it to like the team. Then they are going to trust more of your judgment, and then it is going to go ahead and move from there. And not only for the company, I think it will also help you develop your leadership skills as you are able to lead the changes and give you a lot of confidence for the rest of your career.
Yes.
So with that, David, I'll maybe go to some other question, which is, this is like. You can answer it from a perspective of a product manager, or maybe from your leader's life as well. That, let's say, we all know that our failures are the stepping stones to our success. So maybe you can share maybe one story of your failure that eventually in your career lead to some kind of advantage for you.
Sure, I had many.
Yeah.
So when I think of my career, thinking about thinking about a failure here that happened and it was very painful. I put that in the book. So what happened is I arrived in the company. I was a product manager there. It was my first time as a product manager. And I thought I was flying there. People were giving me positive feedback all the time and we were delivering solutions fast. And then a new business analyst started there. And as part of the onboarding, we had lunch together. And the business analyst told me how hard it was to consolidate data because we had people spread all over Brazil collecting data from stores and collecting also data from trainings that we provided to stores. And it was very hard because everyone would collect in a different format. And then the business analyst said, we should create a training platform and then we would standardize everything and it would be easier for everyone. I liked the idea immediately. And then we started scratching there and so on. Then we had a few meetings. The director also liked the idea. And then I jumped into the idea. For me, the problem I was solving was for the business analyst to consolidate data. And it seemed like a legitimate problem. I talked to more business analysts inside the company, they had the same problem. Then what happened? We invested, I think, about 3 sprints developing a solution for that. It took a little bit longer in the end, but then we had a training platform. Everyone inside the company loved that. It was time to show the users how they would interact with it. So we went to the south of Brazil to present to some trainers. And we were super excited about it. And then as I started presenting, I showed the platform how they could create these and how they could reuse the trainings to collect data to make it easier and so on and so on. But they didn't show any excitement at all. There were more than 50 people in the room and everyone looked very skeptical. And then someone broke the ice. Someone said, it looks rational and looks quite clear. But I have one question. How am I supposed to use that inside the airplane? And I said, huh? What do you mean inside the airplane? He said, because I am traveling all the time. as Brazil is quite big country, they would go to one region, give a lot of trainings, collect the data, and travel to another region. And he said that he had only time to fill the forms when he was traveling. And then I realized what was wrong there. Because there were more users, and we solved the problem that the users they didn't have, and we created a problem we should not have.
Yes. Interesting.
It was a very painful story because we had an investment, and of course what we did after was to enable the upload of the file, which cost a lot of time because it was unstructured and so on. And what would have I done differently? If you see more users, you need to build what is natural, not what is rational. Might be very rational for you. If it is not natural for users, they're not going to use it.
Yes, interesting. And David, like, let's say all of us, at least in principles, we know that yes, you have to be user centric, you have to be customer centric. But most of the time, when we have also made these kind of similar mistakes, that yes, when it comes to really executing the work, we tend to miss on this particular point. What do you think are the reason for the same? Why do we, like, all the product managers know this is the first principle of product management, that be user centric, listen to the users, talk to them, understand them, have their perspective, but most of us miss out on the same. What do you think is the reason for the same? Is it like the company? Is it like the psychology? What is it?
There would be many things related to it, but what comes to my mind is one common saying that goes all over the place. Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. And this saying of don't bring me problems, bring solutions lead to all of that because we start thinking about solutions very fast. So we think we understood the problem, but before we create a solution, we need to understand the problem space. Because if you look at one part of the problem, you may miss the whole ecosystem, which is what happened with me. And I'm not telling people to go on a open-ended discovery. In our case, a conversation with one trainer would have helped already. We could have talked to one trainer and asked like, how do you do that? What challenge do you have when you are doing? What is good? What is bad? An interview of 20 minutes would have solved that. But what
Yes.
happened is, for us, it seemed logical. Why would everyone want to fill out Excel all the time and duplicate all the files? We said, okay, obviously. And what is that? An assumption. So if you have something that you assume to happen, that is just a belief. And if you don't have evidence, it means you need to test. So you need to spend more time in the problem space. That's what I'm saying here before jumping to the solution space. And the other aspect is you mentioned, is it the company? Is it the person, the psychological? What happens in many companies is the anxiety of seeing things getting out. So companies want to do something called budgeting. So how much can we invest into this? And then the company sees it is promising. In our case back then, yes, it seemed promising. So our head of product enabled us to invest 2 months into that. So that was the budgeting. But what was wrong with that? A better way would be to make incremental investments, saying, we have a hunch this is a good idea. What if we invest 2 days here to understand if it is something worth solving? And then we decide if we want to invest another week creating something small and learning. So make incremental change, make incremental investments instead of going all in upfront.
Interesting, David. I think very actionable as well. Now, because you have opened the thread on product discovery now, and in the book you have dedicated a chapter to product discovery, how to do the right kind of product, do the product discovery in the right way. Like, what is the approach that you suggest for product discovery? Because I'm sure most of the product managers are like straight away jumping to solutions. What are you going to suggest them?
So my approach is having a journey, which there are some elements there. And as you are the driver, you should decide which element to use when. So for example, sometimes you drive forward, you go backward, take a right turn, a left turn. But the elements I have there, they relate to the following. What is the ultimate goal you are pursuing? But people misunderstand goals very easily. They start thinking that a goal would be, for example, increase conversion rate. Well, that would be a very easy goal to achieve. Just Drop all the prices, conversion rate increases immediately. A goal I'm saying here is like understand the goal and the cards you have. What are the trade-offs you can make? And what is the guardrail metric you have to protect? This will help you understand the big picture. And then another element, I would say there are a few elements related to the problem space. For example, understand your audience. What are they trying to achieve? What jobs do they have? What are the solutions they use? What is painful for them? What is not? So within this, you will start understanding your audience, their scenario. And then is uncover the value drivers. This is a term I introduced there in the book. The reason is because I see many times opportunities, problems, but the truth is solving problems users don't care is not going to drive value. Benefiting from opportunities that you cannot collect business value is also not mindful for you.
Right.
So I said, let's put a term that will ensure that we are always talking about value. So I said value driver, because then if you don't know how what you are about to select drives value, just drop it. So that is the part still in the problem space. You are trying to find something that is worth investing because it drives value. And then you need to prioritize because you will always have more opportunities. And prioritization here, it is a bet. So think about how often the users face that. How much do they care about it? What is your ability of solving the problem? How will that help you differentiate from competition? These kind of questions will help you find a direction. And then you can pick something. And now it is time, once you clarify that, to ideate on potential solutions for that. And once you ideate on solutions, don't go all in. Think about what are we assuming to happen? You assume that maybe users are going to pay for that. You assume maybe they will understand how to use it. So name the critical assumptions, test them, and then decide based on evidence. So what did you learn from your product experiments? Then you say, is it worth scaling the investment? If not, drop it. Pick another value driver and go on the journey again. Because what is the essence of product discovery? Product discovery will help you understand you're wrong fast enough. So you can drop the bad ideas and bet on the good ones.
Yes. Very interesting. So if I have to like summarize this all, maybe you could start with a goal, which is not only the combination of the outcome that you're looking out for, but what are the cards and the constraints that you have. Then go ahead and maybe collect some kind of user insights to understand if, and plus look at multiple opportunities that you have. Then prioritize them as per the user pains, how painful it is for them, what is the size of the opportunity, and also making sure whether your team would be able to go ahead and solve this problem or not. Then prioritize, and then go ahead and experiment. I think if you have been able to get bad ideas in product discovery, it has not failed, but you bet too much on those ideas, then that would be a failure for the company. Yes.
Good.
Cool, David. Yes. So, David, maybe we'll do a quick rapid fire round of questions. So it's not rapid fire that you have to ask, like go ahead and maybe answer them in 30 seconds. You can take your time, but I'm going to ask them rapidly. That's it. So let me go ahead and ask you the first rapid fire question. So in your career, from a product manager to a CEO, from a teacher to a CEO, you might have came across so many people who might have advised you. So what is the best piece of advice that someone has given you, and how did it affect you?
Yeah, this question is a very interesting one. I was thinking, I received advice several times in my life, but there was one, which is, I would say, what happened. Several times in my life, I was wondering, should I ask for help? Should I approach this person? Should I do this or not? Should I try this out? And I was not taking action. And then someone once came to me and said, if you don't do anything, you already have the no. But if you do something, you maybe have 50% of chance of getting a yes. So just do it. And then you see if the person is going to help you or not.
Yes.
So this has shaped my life because I start asking for help. I started approaching people and say, hey, can you help me with that? Oh, what did you think about it? Can you contribute to this? And I got surprised throughout my life. Many people look, for example, at my book and they ask one question. How did you get Marty Kagan to write an endorsement for you. What they don't know is that I asked actually several people, and I tried out many, many, many people. Some people simply ignored me. They didn't even bother replying. Some people, they said, sorry, I lack the time. I'm not going to do it. So I started asking people. But the thing is, I have no expectation.
Yes.
If they don't react or if they say no, well, that was the answer I had before starting the conversation. So I remain on the same part I started. But some people are going to help you. And it turned out if you really care about something and you show enthusiasm to the others, they are going to help you.
Yes.
So you said about my career journey. All of this happened because I asked for help different times in my career and different people helped me.
Yes. 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 Interesting. And I think that's actually like the problem that most of the people are facing, that rather than letting the world reject them, they self reject and they don't reach out to people, and then they don't find the kind of opportunities. Yes. Very good, very insightful, David. And then my next question would be like exactly opposite, which is, what is the worst advice that you think is being given in the PM world right now? The absolutely bad worst advice.
It might be a little bit polemic when I say that. Some people may interpret as reckless from my side. But I'm going to say there's a lot of people saying that PMs should be excellent in execution. You should
Mm,
master delivery and all of this. I'm worried about that because it drives you the mindset of creating stuff. So you need to master execution. And the problem is like execution goes very easily to delivery. It's a very close wording. For me, I would say in the role of PM, you need to master a way of filtering out bad ideas
mm,
because maximizing execution to perfection, that you create features that are awesome that nobody use, that's not mindful.
mm,
So saying that PMs will be kind of a conductor of a team that will ensure that is always delivering at the maximum quality possible, I think that also puts the PM in a higher level than the team. And you
mm,
remember I said that in the beginning I thought that I was a bridge. And then I evolved my definition of a PM to being a conductor of an orchestra where I would play no instrument, but I would ensure everyone played the music beautifully. But then I realized that I was positioning myself higher than a PM. My current definition is that the PM is like a jazz player. You start the music and the rhythm, and then people will join you and contribute to the music to the best they can, and they will improvise with you. What is the result?
mm.
Together, you create something that none of you would imagine that was possible. That is the difference. So, putting the PM as fully accountable for the excellence of execution sets the mindset in the wrong direction.
Understood, understood. Cool. So, yes, so maybe you should be like that orchestrator rather than someone who is also playing all the instruments and also trying to create the melody out there. Cool. Interesting, David. And David, maybe the next question is that we have talked about trap teams, like unproductive teams. Maybe is there any company that comes to your mind that you really admire? It could be any reason. And why do you admire that?
I thought about two companies. One that I admire a lot is 37 Signals, where Jason Fried is the CEO. The reason I admire them is because they are unique. They are a
Hmm.
company with around 70 plus people, but they have products that are used by more than 100 million people. And
Yes.
with this small group of people, they don't talk about revenue, they talk about profit. So they have profit of double digit $1 million, so 10 plus million. But the thing is not about what they create in terms of revenue, is all the value they put into creating products. They don't care about agile terms. They created their way of working, which is
Shape up.
shape
Yeah.
up. So
Yes.
they focus on creating value, creating great products. And they are very authentic in how they work. Jason wrote the book Rework, which is very different. And what makes it possible for them with this small group of people to create these products is the how they do it. It is by being different, by being unique. It is a very hard company if you want to join as a PM because they are very keen and they don't open that many positions. They generally are different than any other company. For example, they would say, let your customers outgrow you. So if the customers start asking for things that would be bigger than the audience they aim to serve, they say, sorry, go to another product. We
Yeah.
don't aim to do that for you. We are not going to do it. So it is very different because many people start saying, okay, so let's grow and let's serve a different audience. And I said, no, we serve this audience and that's it.
Yes, yes. And I think that also joins connects back to the previous point that we have made, that good product strategy is not about what you want to do, but more about what you do not want to do, and putting yourself into that constant, because you can maybe be more creative about solving the right problem that you want to, rather than putting yourself at a lot of places. Good, interesting. And also, David, that this is like a very very common question. I'm sure you might get it asked very often. I get it asked very often, so I'm going to pass it on to you. What do you think is the future of product management?
For me, the future of product management will be more like on the human side. Because now what I see is like AI is going to supercharge product managers in terms of what we can achieve. So AI is better than us in terms of synthesizing knowledge, gathering insights from data points, and all of this. But PMs need to decide where to act. There are many things we cannot learn from data. We can learn when we get out of the office and we observe people in their daily lives working, trying to get something done. And once we observe that, we have opportunities of solving that in different ways. So the future of PM for me is being more, I would say, not only user centered, but developing a strong empathy with business, strong empathy with users, and trying to connect the dots and using all of the power we will have and already have with artificial intelligence to make the best use of that to create digital products faster. Because many people say, will AI replace product managers? I don't think so. I think it will supercharge product managers. But there is one catch here. If you are an inexperienced product manager and you try using AI or overusing it, it's like driving a car. If you don't know how to drive the car and you just got your driving license, if you try driving, I guess, in India, it's going to be very hard. You need to have some experience there. So what happens? It takes time. So first you learn how to drive the car, and then you can ask the car to drive you. So you need to be the pilot, and to be the pilot you need to have the expertise. So the future of
Yes.
product manager for me, it is in this direction.
Yes, very interesting. And maybe with the concluding question, that what are, let's say, the three books or the resources that you are going to suggest to product managers?
Oh, that's a good one. So when it comes to books, one thing that comes to my mind is there's a book from Jim Highsmith, which is the Agile Wild West. And why am I suggesting that? It is about 6 decades. Then you can understand things that happened in the past, and you are going to see that some things are still happening right now. So you can see all of this agile movement. And I know that some PMs are going to be tired of agile, but this book is not about agile. It is about the transition that happened over the last 6 decades. And it's going to help quite a lot. And another book I would recommend to PMs, because many people ask me, what is a good PM? A good PM is a good storyteller. So you need to master how you communicate, and how you communicate will define what you can achieve. I would recommend a book called Never Split the Difference, that is written by Chris Voss. He was a former FBI person. And this is going to help you quite a lot. And another book, which the title may mislead you because you may not work with Scrum, but the book is by Martin Dauman. It is called Driving Value with Sprint Goals. But this book is way more than sprint goals. No matter how you work, it is about helping you deal with all the uncertainty. And the core of the book is how can you use humble plans to achieve extraordinary results. So it's a great read. simple to understand and easy to apply.
Cool. Very insightful. Thanks a lot for that, for the list of books, David. What I'll also do is I'll maybe in the description of this video or the podcast, I'll attach all of these books along with the summary so people can decide if they want to go ahead and maybe go ahead and read them out as well. So yes, David, I think this was a great conversation. Thanks a lot for this value packed conversation. And I have read the book. I have absolutely become the fan of the book. I'm going to recommend it to a lot of people, and people who are still, let's say, at the verge of, let's say, they are on the fence of reading or not reading the book. I would suggest you to at least read the summary first, and I'm sure you'll go ahead and maybe can't stop yourself from taking that book. You could find a lot of advice on the internet about so many like good things and the bad things that are happening in product management. And I think the particular thing that I like about this book is a very good compilation of everything along with the unique insights that David has to bring. So thanks a lot for writing that book for us, David, and thanks a lot for being here with us. Hope to host you again. Yes. Cool. Where is the mouse?